Welcome back to the 17 News at Sunrise podcast, where we share your news on your schedule.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
Good morning. Right now at 5 and breaking overnight, our KGET studios evacuated after a car appears to have been intentionally set on fire outside the gates of our station. And that's not all. More on the strange display set up next to the burning vehicle. In new state data tells us the COVID-19 surge over the winter months were much deadlier here in Kern County than we thought. So why the backlog, and when we expect to know the true toll of the pandemic? Plus, after being canceled last year, the future of the Kern County Fair still hangs in the balance for this year, and the board of directors hopes to have an answer for the public today. This is Monday, March 22nd, 2021. Good morning here at 5 a.m. Good to have you with us. I'm Maddie Jansen, anchoring from here at home, and Alex Fisher is holding down the fort in studio after a wild night, and we'll get to that breaking news in just a moment. But first, it was also the first weekend of spring officially.
Yeah, we actually had some cooler temperatures too. I had to grab the light jacket at least in the evening hours, but the afternoons were absolutely gorgeous. Let's turn things over to Kevin Charette on this Monday morning, this first full week of spring. Kev, weather still chilly in the evening hours, but the afternoons are absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, and after seeing a little bit of rain Friday night into Saturday, in fact, we picked up a quarter of an inch. That was kind of nice to see as well. And overall, it was a great weekend, some nice temperatures, and those are going to continue for this week. As we show you outside right now, you can see we are mostly clear. A few clouds up near the Bodfish area along the 178, and we've got a temperature of 48 degrees right now, an east wind at 7 miles per hour. And you can see throughout the day plenty of sunshine for you, and we'll be into the 60s, upper 60s, lower 70s. And then out of Tehachapi, a fairly calm wind right now, but that will change this afternoon, as I do expect the winds to pick up. 36 degrees currently with a west wind at 6, and we do have a wind advisory that will kick in this afternoon and be in place until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's for the mountain and desert locations, but overall we're looking at plenty of sunshine throughout the afternoon and those 50s. We will see some clouds approach the area as we head into tonight. There might even be a slight chance of a shower into our Kern Mountain locations, and then that will clear out by tomorrow. We'll talk more about that coming up in just a little bit. For now, back over to you.
All right, Kev, thanks so much. Time now is 5:02, and this morning we begin with breaking news, and it's just outside our studios. A car burst into flames as white crosses lined our back parking lot, and police say it appears to be an intentional act. That prompted police to evacuate our studios, and we had to go off the air during our 11 p.m. newscast.
Now we do have a bit of breaking news right outside the 17 News studios. We have a vehicle fire that is reported right outside of our studio in downtown Bakersfield. And this is visible on our Skycam here. And we're starting to report we do have to evacuate the studios here, and so we will be back on 17 News.
And 17's Eliana Capian joins us live now with details and new developments on who police say may be responsible. Eliana?
Alex, this morning the scene quite different than it was just hours ago. Police are saying that the investigation is ongoing, but they have a woman in custody and are questioning her for the time being. Now, it happened all around 11 p.m. Police say an officer first heard explosions and found the car on fire. And as you just saw, our rooftop camera captured the blaze, showing the flames stretching 20 feet in the air. But that wasn't all. 13 wooden crosses, each between 5 and 7 feet tall, were leaning against our back parking lot. Wedding gowns were draped on 2 of the crosses, and a man's suit jacket was on another. BPD says the wedding dresses, suit jacket, and crosses all seem to be related to the fire, but the significance is unknown at this time.
With the proximity to the news station where this was at, out of overabundance of caution, we did enlist the members of the Bakersfield Police Bomb Squad to help evaluate, and we did have one of our canine units that is explosive ordnance device detection dog patrolled the perimeter to make sure that everything was okay for everybody.
The woman that was detained last night has been identified as 40-year-old Amber Hernandez of Bakersfield. She has been charged with a felony and is due in court on Wednesday. Bail is currently set at $10,000. Now, no one was hurt in the fire, but I want you guys to take a look at all of kind of the debris that's left here on the sidewalk. You can see the burn marks from the fire and the car that was parked here facing the street and, parked alongside our KGET gate here. So while no one was hurt, we are very thankful for that, but it was close proximity to our station, as you were just mentioning, Alex. In downtown Bakersfield, Ileana Capellan, 17 News.
All right, Ileana, thank you so much. And your time now is 5:05. The investigation continues this morning following a string of suspicious deaths around town. 5 bodies found, 2 in an Oildale home, 2 about a mile away from that location, and another in East Bakersfield. Each body was found on Friday. Law enforcement still won't say exactly what happened, but here's what we know so far. The first 2 bodies were found around noon in Oildale at a house on the corner of El Cajon and Hurley Avenue. Family members say the 2 victims were relatives.
There was no gunshots. There was nothing like that. And then they had this blocked off, that blocked off behind me, and there was at least a good 10, 15 detectives.
Hours later, around 3 p.m., 2 other bodies were found at a home on Castaic Avenue across the street from the Kern County Sheriff's Office. These bodies were about a mile and a half from the first 2, but KCSO says the deaths are not related. Neighbors speculate it was a murder-suicide, but we still have not heard information from KCSO. There was a 5th death in Bakersfield near the Walmart on East Brundage Lane around 7 p.m. Bakersfield police arrived to find a female with obvious signs of trauma. They say she later died. Anyone with information on any of these deaths is asked to call Kern County Sheriff's Department at 861-3110, or you can call Bakersfield Police at 327-7111. Another investigation ongoing this morning. KCSO investigating after a man was shot early Saturday in Wasco. Deputies went to the 1500 block of Sycamore Drive around 3 a.m. after a 37-year-old man reported he'd been shot. When deputies arrived, they found that man and rushed him to Kern Medical for treatment. KCSO says the man suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and they have no suspect information at this time.
The smoke is cleared, but the investigation continues this morning following a house fire in central Bakersfield. First responders say this house caught fire in the area of Palm Street just after 9 o'clock Saturday night. The blaze hurling smoke several feet into the air. City Fire sending several engines to fight the flames. Authorities say no one was inside the house when the fire started and no one was hurt. No word yet on what started the blaze. In your 17 Court Watch, 44-year-old Matthew Queen charged with murder and other crimes in the death of a man who is part of what's become known as the Bakersfield 3 case is due back in court today. The hearing was scheduled for 2 weeks ago, but was postponed. A date is expected to be set for Queen's preliminary hearing, where a judge will determine whether there's enough evidence to proceed with a trial. Queen and Bailey Despot, who has been missing since 2018, are charged with torture and murder in the death of Michael Holsenbake. A third defendant, Matthew Tyler Vandecastile, is charged with kidnapping and conspiracy in this case. And trial is set to begin today in another high-profile murder case. 22-year-old Nicholas Quintana is accused in the killing of a local attorney after meeting 26-year-old Marco Vargas through an online dating app and allegedly stabbing him to death. This happened at the Golden Valley Luxury Apartments in South Bakersfield. Court documents state Vargas invited Quintana into his apartment after connecting with him via the Meet Me app. Quintana pleaded not guilty to charges of first-degree murder, robbery, and manufacturing an assault weapon.
5:09 your time now. Spring has sprung for local businesses, and they have plans to revitalize the historic neighborhood of Old Town Kern. Local community leaders worked collectively, bringing the Old Town Kern food and bike crawl to the community Saturday night.
As a city councilman, I believe that it's important that the city invests in public infrastructure and make significant improvements to revitalize Old Town. But government can't do it alone. We also need to partner with existing business owners and help support their effort. After the bike ride, activities continued well into the night with prizes and a raffle.
Well, the fate of one of Kern's favorite traditions hangs in the balance. The Kern County Fair Board of Directors is expected to decide today whether or not the Kern County Fair will go on this year. There are worries due to the slow rollout of the vaccine. Not enough people will be inoculated to justify opening the fair to the public. Fair CEO Mike Alcott making that statement at a recent board meeting. If the board agrees, that means we may have to wait until 2022 to experience the rides, games, and fair food once again. The board's also considering applying for a second round of a Paycheck Protection Program loan, and we'll hear more about that again later today at that meeting. All right, and another chance today for free immunizations for children in our community. Thanks to Adventist Health, they're holding another clinic, and it's happening today from 9 to 2, and it will be in the Standard Middle School at 126 Ferguson Avenue in Bakersfield. A mobile clinic will be set up there at Standard. Children over the age of 5 do require an appointment. The vaccines are free for kids who don't have health insurance, are enrolled in Medi-Cal, or are American Indian or Native Alaskan. You can find more information on our website, kget.com. Just click on the hot link icon. Welcome back here at 520, making news around the nation. This week, the Biden administration is fighting a growing problem at our border. Thousands of children are in custody. The president says they're getting it under control, but his critics claim it's a crisis he created. We get the latest now from NBC's Tracy Potts.
As of today, nearly 5,000 unaccompanied children are in custody at the southern border, some 10,000 more around the country, with hundreds pouring in every day.
It's going to get worse. It's going to get a lot worse. Springtime, summer, more and more come over. The message is coming back that, hey, we got a new president. Come on in.
Republicans blame President Biden reversing Remain in Mexico and other Trump policies. But the Biden administration refuses to call it a crisis, saying the number of migrants crossing the border was already on the rise under President Trump. That's true, but it spiked when Biden took office.
We will not expel into the Mexican desert, for example, 3 orphan children whom I saw over the last 2 weeks. We just won't do that. That's not who we are.
Are you thinking of going to the border?
At some point I will, yes. Health and Human Services is opening temporary facilities to house, educate, and care for these children until the government can find a sponsor for each one. It's happening as Congress discusses immigration reform.
The border right now is wide open.
The Biden team argues they're rebuilding a system torn apart by the former president. And although the numbers are lower than at some points during the Trump administration, it's a challenge the new administration is struggling to address. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
Making headlines around the state this morning, the search is on in the murder of a Fresno Street vendor. The vendor was working in a neighborhood yesterday when he was shot and killed. And according to police, the suspect was posing as a customer when he walked up and shot the vendor in the head, execution style. The victim has not been identified, but police say he is in his 30s or 40s. Police say the shooter stole some things from the vendor, but did not specify what was taken. Officers are now looking into surveillance footage from the area to try and identify the alleged shooter.
KGET Business Watch is brought to you by Grapevine MSP Technology Services, the Valley's leading IT service provider.
Welcome back here at 525. The COVID-19 pandemic has decimated the travel and hospitality industries. But there's a reason for optimism. After a year of restrictions limiting travel, many Americans seem eager to get back out there and are confident it will be safe when they do. NBC's Chris Pallone reports.
After a year of COVID lockdowns and restrictions, it appears Americans are itching to travel.
Consumers are really excited about getting out on the road.
In a recent consumer survey, the accounting firm Deloitte found adults who say they would feel safe staying in a hotel is at its highest level since last April, 46%. About a third said they'd feel safe flying. What's driving that increased confidence? Vaccines.
More than half of those vaccinated say that they're likely to travel in the next month, compared to 30% of the general population.
While the CDC still recommends Americans avoid traveling right now, travel expert Janine Tornatori says a trade group discovered just the mere act of planning a trip can lift spirits.
97% of Americans who just have a trip planned experience more joy, more happiness, and alleviated stress.
COVID has hit the travel industry hard and has even changed the nature of travel, with Americans spending more time outdoors and often seeking out campgrounds and home rentals instead of hotels to stay isolated from other people.
It limits their exposure to other individuals. They are able to support the sanitization of their space.
When you decide to travel, Tornatori advises researching cancellation policies for airlines, hotels, and attractions.
Make sure that you're getting on those tourism websites and understanding exactly what is going to be required of you before you book your trip.
It will be a while before we know if enhanced sanitation measures and the trend towards contactless experiences from travel vendors will become permanent in a post-pandemic world, but it's clear Americans are getting eager to find out. Chris Pallone, NBC News.
Working in the spirit of the Golden Empire, this is 17 News at Sunrise.
The 17 News at Sunrise podcast is a production of KGET and Nexstar Media Group. For more on all of the headlines in today's show, head to kget.com.